welcome everybody to the, what is this, June 8th, 2026 meeting of the WordPress Web Help Meetup. And I'm happy to welcome all of you. You'll notice we have, I'll take a moment to explain the portrait there in the on my background. We lost one of our friends, Mike Noder, who's been a faithful and very generous participant in this group since I took over in late 2023, I believe it was. And here comes Steve. Anyway, a few weeks back, the WordPress world was kind of shaken by the news that poor Mike evidently was the victim of a staircase fall, which he did not survive. And like I say, he was a stolid member of our group, and he will be missed. So probably for the next meeting or two, we'll have him there in absentia. It's strange to think of this meeting without him, but life goes on. Anyway, good to see you all. And we're going to start out with introductions. We're going to have a guided discussion after that. And if we have any questions that we can answer or problems to address, we can then dive into AI and have a discussion. So I'm just going to call on folks as I see you on my grid. And that would mean that we're going to start out with Mr. Brendan. Brendan, you want to tell us what needs to be known about you?
I'm Brendan O'Connell here. I am a WordPress developer, designer, coder, whatever you want to call me. I've been in the WordPress scene for, I don't know, about a decade. And I, make content. I run my own agency. I freelance, white label, and yeah, do all things WordPress. Big fan of open source, and been getting into agentic coding as well, and automation and all things about that. And yeah, just here to learn from you guys and share anything I can. So anyway, good to be here.
Awesome. It's always good to have you in the room. You're a very generous and useful contributor, which brings us to another gentleman by the same of the same sort, and that would be Daryl, who's been another one. Daryl's probably neck and neck with Mike as far as how long you've been part of this group. So you want to introduce yourself, Daryl?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Daryl. I'm a I call myself nowadays more of a system lead gen architect
Oh,
where
let me interrupt for a second. Feel free to put your contact information in the chat for others.
sure, I'll do it after the little spiel here.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah, so I've been in the marketing space for over 10 years, and so nowadays what I do is I call myself more of a lead gen and systems architect. So getting people in your funnel, overall how do you nurture them, what's your strategy, things of that nature, and then assessing your automation and what are you doing to help close them. Because a lot of the gap is not always a lead problem, it's a closing problem. And AI naturally has become a big part of that, and it's an interesting discussion. It's an effective tool, but one that needs human oversight still.
Absolutely, and we'll be covering that well. Anything else? No? Daryl's done. All
I'm
right, that
done.
brings us to you, Ed. I put the you're muted, but I did put the questions in the chat.
Yeah, so I'm new to WordPress. I'm familiar with HTML, CSS, and uh, I think programming from scratch, just the basics for HTML. But I was trying to.
Ed, I'll let you know that your mic is a little low. If there's anything you can do to bring it up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to know more WordPress. I'm familiar with HTML. Can you hear me? Yes, no?
Yeah, better, better. You got closer
Okay,
to
so
your mic.
I'm new to I mean WordPress, so I know some HTML and some coding, but not familiar with the WordPress. I'm trying to learn. I'm a new guy trying to learn WordPress,
Okay, great.
understand it.
Well, good to have you here. You're welcome.
Thanks.
Um, and that brings us to David.
Hey, hello from Portland, Oregon. I just scared the crap out of my wife when I said hey.
Okay.
I'm here in Portland, Oregon. I've been doing WordPress for 21 years and 1 month. I started with WordPress 1.5.1. That was my first installation. And been doing software. All right, I'm going to age myself. You ready? 1982 was when I first started doing some kind of computer stuff. And I am no, I was about to say, and Steve understands this, that I'm no longer doing WordPress, but I'm actively doing WordPress. I've been writing a very, very deep and wide plugin that is probably about 2 months away from shipping. Most of it is, I picked up coding. I stopped coding years and years ago and picked it up again about 2 years ago and doing all agentic coding, and, agentic engineering for the vast majority of my code. I've recently have been playing a lot with WordPress 7, starting with some of the late alpha, early betas, and diving into all the different agentic side of things there and how what WordPress can do and can't do. Though I'm not building new WordPress sites, I'm doing stuff in other systems more than WordPress itself. And what else? Oh, I recently become I have notoriety on the West Coast circuit for hackathons. So I've been doing mentoring and judging in hackathons, and I even participated in one this past weekend. So yeah.
Interesting.
Mhm.
The plugin you're working on, is that going to be something that you might want to present to our group?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a number of months out that I'll be able to do that. What is
Tell him
Steve
how
shaking your
bad. I'll
head?
tell him how badass it is, though. Tell him
Yeah,
just like it's absolutely badass. And
let's do the intros, then I can explain what it is and talk about talking it out, um, and also how I am running autonomous agents right now to do all my marketing and all my sales. And Daryl, my lead gen, is all happening through right now about 31 different agents that are running 24/7. So I'm looking at creating a one-person company that's going to be sustainable, eventually going to 0 people, right? So anyway,
We
that
do.
was a long introduction. Sorry about that, but we can always swing
No, not
back
at
and
all. But I will
mhm.
point out that we do have kind of a, well, we're beta testing the idea of doing a guided discussion. So, I would just want, at this point in time, just want to know if that's something you want to present to our group, and then we can elaborate further down the road. But
Yeah,
today
most
might not
definitely.
be the,
We'll connect. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, we'll see if we have any issues to dissect. We'll do those today, but let's see how we do, because I may have bitten
Yeah.
off more than I can chew with with the scope of this AI discussion. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
No, I think it's great that you're doing this, right? I mean, this is, it's
Well,
an important thing for WordPress's future, right?
my heart's in the right place. We'll see how it pans out. Steve,
hey, man,
what's up, man?
I've been kind of in Dave's shoes. I am we taking a big focus on much of this AI stuff, my partner and we have con contracted some universities for our chatbot. I've developed sort of like an overarching keep you safe, keep your AI agents from going crazy. Um, OS. and about ready to drop that. That's what I wanted to send you, Brendan, and I will still do that. And I have a couple other really cool utilities that are like just, I mean, it's all because of Dave, really. I mean, we all of us got started when, well, it's because of you motivated me to get deeper into it, a couple of years ago when I was already doing it. I mean, I got into it right away when it was released, so whatever that's been like for 3.5 years or something. But then because of this meetup stuff, I've been friends with Dave now for, I don't know, 7 years or something. And I've always appreciated his insight. And we're similar age, if you can believe that. And I mean, I know he looks way better than I do, but and we were in high school at the same time. And he's really incredible, actually. And because of him, and because of some things he did for me and showed me, I said, man, I can really go back to what I really like to do, which was the coding part. And I've been doing it since '83. So not as long as Dave, but since '83. And and I've really been in the AI stuff. I mean, I have agents doing all kinds of stuff, and I mess around with no code solutions, code solutions. I mean, I could, been very fortunate to be able to take some time and do it. And I kind of retired in October, as far as like having to take new work, and now I just take the stuff I want to take and help my partner out, make sure, sustain the business. But really, um, I'm just taking, I kept my good clients, and now I just take the projects I want to take, which is mostly AI stuff. So getting pretty good at it.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
I think you'll probably enjoy our discussion today.
I'm sure that's why I made
Yeah,
sure I
I
was.
think both you and David will get a chance to stretch your legs a little bit, and in a more structured format. And that brings us to Kim, who tells me that Kim is going to introduce themselves here in the chat,
Oh yeah, because she's
just
probably
here
working out.
as an observer. So good to have you here, Kim. I'm struggling to remember if Kim is a male or a female.
She's a
Sorry.
woman.
Sorry.
Testing 1, 2, 3. It's Kim. Thanks.
Hey there. I recognize your dogs.
Yeah.
Which brings us to me. I'm Edward Sanchez. My company is Brass Ring Web Design. I have been in the WordPress space since 2010 or so, building websites since the late 90s. Though I consider myself more of a marketer than I do a web developer, although it all stemmed from web development. And actually what WordPress did for me 16 years ago was allow me to focus less on the actual nuts and bolts of building websites and focus more on making sure the website's effective. My, you know, my personal opinion is that a large percentage of the websites online are ineffective from a marketing sense, simply because they're heavy on the tech and heavy on the pretty, but maybe not so much on what actually gets people to act. Thinking in terms of, most people think in terms of this is what I do, maybe even this is how much I charge to do it, and less in terms of thinking of how the customer is looking at it. The customer's got problems, they have pain points that they need addressed, they're looking for solutions, and the best websites are the ones that convey the benefits of what they offer rather than just a laundry list, or an extended back of the business card sort of thing. So anyway, I also you can also find me online as my WordPress guy. at my WordPress guy, hashtag my WordPress guy. I grabbed that URL 16 years ago and have never regretted it because it's a quickie. Now we don't have so many elevator speeches anymore, but that's a good one. If you can't remember brass ring web design, just remember my WordPress guy, and we'll see if that works. Anyway, let's see. Does anybody have any particular issues that they want to bring to the table and have addressed? No? Any questions you might have, Ed, as as one of our new members? Anything that you've been encountering that you might want answered by some of these black belts?
Security, that's the main concern. Because
Can you be a little more specific?
like I'm afraid a WordPress getting hacked, and I get a lot of notifications on my cPanel. I'm not really familiar, but I would like to see what's going on. I get messages and uh, plugin notifications. It's just basic, but I'm just not familiar with any of that yet.
I would say that, I'll jump in really quick. Most people tend to think in terms of what is seen on the screen, or what I call the worldview of the website. Very important, and something that gets neglected a lot is what goes on behind the scene, and using best practices in setting up the WordPress in the first place. And security is certainly part of it. And the way you set it up, on the hosting you choose, how you set things up. There are security products that every hosting company offers. There are some really great plugins like WordFence and such, and a number of anti-spam products that you can use to enhance your security and keep the malfeasance at bay. And that is and for that I would point you to the Codex. If you type in codex.org, you will come across basically a Bible for all things WordPress, and you can go there, and there's a glut of information on WordPress. That's the WordPress community's website, and you can certainly find, we live in a 5-star world, so you can go there and you can vet your plugins, any products that you add to your website, and keep them minimal. Don't go happy on just adding stuff because it sounds neat. Determine whether you really need it, because I assure you, everything you add to your website has a hand in perhaps affecting its performance in a negative way. So, but there are plugins for spam, anti-spam, for defense in general, and you check and see how long the product has been in existence. You check to see when the last time it was updated. It actually drops off the approved products list if it hasn't been seen to in 2 years. Because you got to remember, it's WordPress, or we're being introduced to the idea that WordPress is an open source platform. So anyone can have access to the code, anyone can build products and provide services for it. But the range of how good they are varies greatly. You've got the kid who just got his computer science degree and decides to write a plugin or build a theme or something like that. But themes have to be updated, they have to be supported, and all the information there is in the codex. You'll see if the developer supports the product, if questions ever get answered, that sort of thing. So anyway, and keep coming back to this meeting. Maybe we'll do, we've had a WordPress security check the replay. If you look for My WordPress Guy, we do have past episodes of this group on security, and I'm sure we'll have them in the future. So, and any of these nice folk are usually available to answer questions. So make sure you save the chat before you leave. Okay. Anything I didn't cover, David, Steve, anybody? Brandon?
Yeah. Brandy, you were gonna say something? I'm sorry. I was gonna say, like, for Ed, for like rubber meets the road, like immediate things to do or things to take on in the upcoming days, weeks, months, is make sure you're on an exceptional host. And that's a big thing. And if you can pull it off and you have the wherewithal to do it, putting yourself onto what's called Cloudflare Proxy, also known as Cloudflare Orange, that's free. You can get that for free. That's a second, like, low-hanging fruit thing to do. I think another thing is putting on what's called a two-factor authentication plugin. Two-factor authentication you've seen before with banks, where they say enter a code, or I'm going to text you type of thing. And there's one out there that is quite popular, very well supported. I forget the name of the company offhand. I think it's called WP2FA is what it's referred to as. I would not recommend installing any kind of security plugins. I think security plugins are kind of like they don't really do much. They tell you after you're breaking. It's like the police knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, by the way, you were broken into yesterday." They just tell you this after the fact, right? They're not active. They're not, they're not proactive. They're reactive. And there used to be a wisdom. That recently is not a wise thing, which is constantly update your website, update those plugins. I think Edward said minimize your plugins no matter what, but I think there's been enough problems recently where you don't want to update plugins. You can find a mechanism to wait out a little while. Some plugins that are out there, when they get updated, they have hacks in them. They have malicious code in them. And there is ways of mitigating that. I don't know, Steve, do you have that link to that plugin that Eric wrote? There's a plugin that actually will make sure that your plugins don't get updated for 3 days after release, right? Or 7 days, or whatever you choose.
Did he write that? Did he write that?
Any release has got a likelihood of bugginess.
Yeah, I'm not talking about bugginess. I'm talking about malicious code. I mean, you keep on hearing these things about a brand new update.
General problems that you may not be the first. You may not want to be the first person to encounter the issue. Wait till it settles. Yeah. Check to see if other people are having problems and what they're doing. So
unless there's an existing plugin, which is the fifth thing, there's something called PatchStack that is out there, and PatchStack seems expensive, but it is like the definitive fix something on your site if there's what's called a 0-day attack. Like if there's some hackers that are outside the country or in a basement in Chicago that know how to run bots that attack websites, which they do, PatchStack will prevent those things from getting in the door. So I hope you got those. So those are the 5 things, right?
How do you feel, David, about WordFence?
Worthless. Yeah, same thing with SecureEye, just worthless. And again, I mean, it's not only, people will talk quite often about they slow down the front end, they slow down the back end, but I think the best analogy is this is the day after you're broken into, the police come and they say, "Hey, by the way, you were broken into." They don't stop the break-ins, right? It's PatchStack that stops break-ins to a large extent. It's a good host. It's Cloudflare. And those are the things that stop the break-ins, right? Mm-hmm.
But I mean, so how about, I'll get notifications about attempts to access or to log in.
Yeah, attempts. That's, again, after the fact, right?
But they're telling you that we held back the attempt.
They are only reporting that this occurred. They're not necessarily stopping it. That's why I was saying a great host, Cloudflare, PatchStack, those types of things are a much higher, more important mechanism than putting a after the fact reporting type of thing. Most hosts, by the way, if you have a good host combined with Cloudflare, you've covered the vast, vast, vast majority of stuff. I mean, like crazy town, how much you've covered, right?
Absolutely. I got to agree with that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Now, that being said, there's a product called Securi, and they offer a cloud hosting service.
Yeah.
That's a firewall of sorts, very similar to Cloudflare. It's a paid service that will mitigate attacks, right? It mitigates, it doesn't solve them, right? It doesn't remediate, it mitigates.
Don't they have
right?
a remediation level if you pay enough?
Oh yeah, but it's a cloud service. It's a very clever cloud
Yeah.
service, right? But Cloudflare does that for free for you, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm all about the free, right?
Like I say, Ed, we have some very experienced folks here, so pay attention. Because
I think it's very warranted, by the way. Sorry to interrupt that, Ed, but it's very well warranted to try to tackle this on the early side, to get your brain around it. I would also recommend not obsessing over it, right? A lot of us who do WordPress spend way too much time on security and SEO, and not creating content. And creating content is what wins you the game nowadays, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add, Steve, Brendan, Daryl?
I mean, everything you just said is great, except I have, my personal, when I started, I ran WordFence, and I have it on a few sites. Been 15 years, and I got it for like $30 a year or something. And I spent a week, whatever it took me to learn how to set up so I don't get all the stupid emails, and it does nice for me. And I do agree that, hey, it is the whole, oh, we found it, but it happened before, like, I'm not certain that they stop it. I mean, they do stop the regular, shit that anything stops. Clean Talk stops stuff too, right? So I mean, use Clean Talk, pay attention to word fence when they say this is a malicious IP address, turn it in, make sure somebody knows about it. I usually use an old school database. Can't remember what it's called, like AuthDB or something like that. And I report the IPs there and say this is what they're trying to do, malicious, attempts or whatever. And then it tells me, oh yeah, that IP address says, it's 100% certain that's a bad bad IP, and it's got 300 people complaining about the same thing. So I mean, I pay attention to that, but I mean, Dave's advice is great. Just use, I mean, PatchStack's great. I don't pay for it. I don't, but I have Cloudflare, and I have good hosting. I have GridPane hosting, and I pay attention, and I can, like Dave said, I can mitigate a lot of stuff just with Cloudflare. And I mean, I've never really had a whole excitement about being a server admin or anything like that. So the fact that I even know more about it now than I did, a couple of years ago, is just a testament to coming to these meetups and listening to my friends bug me about doing something or whatever, and you end up by osmosis learning more, I guess. And
you really have to be asleep not to pick
oh
things up
man,
along
I mean,
the
like
way.
some of this, I mean, the group, there's a certain tools that everybody always spouts, myself included, and I mean, we just you you got to be kind of slow in the uptake if you can't figure out what you need to do. And
well, that's what I'm here to do.
Oh, by the way, one other thing for Ed, that one of the things that was mentioned a couple of times was Clean Talk. Clean Talk is used to stop comment spam, right? It is a security thing, right? And what that does is that if you're going to allow comments on your website, the Clean Talk product, which is incredibly inexpensive for what it does, will mitigate the vast, vast, vast majority of spam comments.
And all your crap on your emails, like your contact forms and stuff. It does a great job.
Does a great job. So that's what
Ed,
that is when they talk about clean talk.
speaking of Ed, you've got your hand up, Ed? Ed,
No. Got your hand up, buddy?
you got your hand up?
Yeah, so I'm hosting with GoDaddy now, and I have this WordPress service. What if I get hacked through if I host us, if I just make that a site, a WordPress site live and if I get hacked, if it gets hacked, is it gonna get, am I gonna get hacked through my panel, is it gonna take over my account?
Good.
My, is it gonna, are they gonna
It's
be
hard
able
to it's hard to limit what all hackers can do. It depends on how good the hackers are, but and how juicy a target you are. Most of us are lucky enough to not be of interest. Um, but
Well, I
even
mean, if
people,
you are of interest, like university was of interest, and we had some kind of malicious stuff, but we had good hosting. We had the you know the protections in place. So like that's what we're telling you, Ed. You set up the protections, like Dave mentioned. Cloudflare is fairly simple to set up, and I mean, there's going to be a meetup on it sometime this year. Eric will run it. Eric Udhart out of Texas, and he goes over it and tells you what to do, what to set, and like or you go to his website, Seven Circle, and just download it. I mean, he's got the I think it's like a couple bucks, and you can just follow his whole protocol on how to set up your Cloudflare free account. I mean that
I want to take a moment to answer his question directly. If one thing is critical in this modern age is make sure that you never reuse passwords on any site.
oh, yeah.
Always create unique passwords, right? No matter what. So your GoDaddy login has to be different than your cPanel login, which is different than your FTP if you turn that on, which is different than your WordPress, right? Multiple passwords. The other thing is any service, by the way, this is a universal truth. This is a bank account thing as well, that, also if you have an opportunity to turn on 2FA or two-factor authentication, always do it on any particular site that you can. If, I don't recommend using your cell phone as the authenticator, but if you have to, you use it, right? It provides like a big layer of security. Don't reuse the passwords ever, ever, ever. Get a good password manager if you don't know about that. That's actually, everything I was talking about is something that's inside of WordPress as opposed to those other important things. And one other thing, if anybody decides to target you, I agree with Ed that we're not necessarily the targets, or Steve said it also. But the moment that you're targeted, anybody, your bank account is emptied. Okay, let's be clear on that, right? Once you're targeted, it's over, because these penetration testers, they know what they're doing, right? And
I
but
should have
that's
mentioned.
not something to worry about, right? It's just they got bigger fish to fry, right?
Depending on how secure your hosting is, I've had situations where the client, never while I was in control of the site, but like in the process of developing a new site, the client's old hosting and website was hacked. Not so much the site itself, but the hosting account, and somebody set up. Well, I've come across this several times. A phishing site. Somebody went in there and created a fake Wells Fargo portal, and which you knew was going to be, they were going to try to funnel unwary folks out there on the web, direct them there, and try to get them to give up important information that would cause them all kinds of problems. So you'd be surprised what can be hiding somewhere in your directory that has nothing to do with the website that you're building or focused on.
Yeah, Ed, do you use a password protector, password manager at all? for your own stuff?
Not familiar with that.
Okay, so in the room here, how many people use 1Password or LastPass or something like that? Everybody? Daryl, you're using something like that? By the way, look how many hands are up. And Kim has her hand up too. I know that, right? There's a lesson to be learned by, by everybody in the room raising their hand for using something like 1Password or LastPass, right? So that's something you may want to look into, not only for
And
yourself,
they're
but
free
for
too. You can use the free version.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, that's something that once you get your brain around it, help your friends and help your family, especially your parents, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, we can't even see our parents. Now I've gotten to the age where I fit within the target zone. Because people do seek out people who are less savvy in terms of computer use and security, and a life savings can go up in smoke in
Ed, so Ed, that was a really long answer for a simple question, wasn't it?
And the other thing I'll say, Ed, just to assuage some of your fears is, I don't want to say that we fear monger here, but, just follow some of those simple suggestions and you're going to be okay. I've been in WordPress for a decade. I've managed thousands of sites. I've never had a single one hacked. So, just follow these things, get some good hosting, put the site behind Cloudflare. You're going to be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I
thanks.
think it's,
Yeah.
we're living in a world where I mean, only just recently we stopped having to take our shoes off at the airport. We live in a world where stuff happens and people panic, and oftentimes the actual effect and possible danger of that incident is highly overblown by media and what have you. But having an overall, in all things, whether you're walking your wife to a restaurant or whatever, you want to kind of have your head on a swivel, be aware of what the possible dangers might be. I mean, it's called situational awareness, whether it's actually in person or whether it's virtual. There's no shortcut to it, although there's some great products that'll shortcut it. Certainly a group like this is the ability to ask those specific questions, which is why we exist. Because one of the things is that WordPress doesn't offer technical support. So we have kind of a hippie style community support to provide what WordPress can't.
Yes. Okay, thanks.
Hey, Edward from Brass Ring Web Design popping in for a sec to tell you how we can help your DIY website project by making your website effective, not just pretty. At Brass Ring, we take a big picture approach to digital marketing, building a strong foundation that drives long-term growth. We use our hub and spoke traffic model. Yes, of course, we design high-performing WordPress websites that serve as your central marketing hub. We also coordinate traffic to it from key platforms like email marketing, SEO, social media, and ads. We align every aspect of your digital presence for lasting success. More than just ad managers, we're your partner, optimizing the entire customer journey to better use your time and marketing investment and deliver lasting value. Training and coaching you along the way means you continue to save DIY money and retain control. And now, back to our meeting.
Yeah, there's tons of meetups just like this one, and you can always show up. I mean, almost every single night, 5 days a week. Show up and say, "What do you guys think about blah blah blah?" And you're going to get some good people.
Some good
chiming
blah,
in.
blah, blah.
You're gonna get a
Blah,
lot of
blah,
blah
blah.
blah blah and some
Get a lot of blah blah blah.
be
We
a
can
lot
blah,
of
blah,
blah.
blah with the best of them, man.
The other thing I'll quickly just add, I don't think we really said it, was just vet the plugins that you install too, and just do a quick little bit of research, do a Google search to see how many people are using this plugin, what people say about it, and come to the meetup and ask, hey, are you guys using this plugin? If it doesn't have a lot of installs, if it hasn't been updated in the last few months or in the past year, probably don't install it without asking someone first.
Yeah, I did
That
point
kind of
him to
stuff.
the codex and told him about the 5 stars and how there is information there on the various stats on the product, when it was created, when it for how many downloads are available, and you can tell WordPress to some extent will arrange things advantageously, so you'll see the most robust ones will tend to float to the top of the list. So you can see the ones that are doing the updates, that are answering the questions, that are staying on top of their product, and there's no guarantees, especially with free stuff. But that's one of the beauties about WordPress. There's a lot that you can do for free. You can have the entire lifespan of your website with only free products. I mean, aside from your hosting and that sort of thing, probably if you're going to spend anything on plugins and what have you, do spend them on security, because that's peace of mind, But there's a lot available, and that codex is a great resource to see what's what, and if people are maintaining themselves above board in our community. So anything else, Ed? Because otherwise I'd like to move on to our discussion on AI.
I think they said, I mean, there's so much info that I just
I know.
little.
Well, we'll try not to feed you from
Yeah.
the garden hose, from the fire hose rather.
Thank you.
And it's a process, but I think we told you about some of the big rocks, and because the feeling that you get when a major catastrophe strikes your site, especially if anybody else is dependent on it, or your income, which is no small thing, you don't want that feeling. It's a nausea that knows no description. Well, anyway, let me go to sharing my screen, and we'll kind of shift gears into letting you guys loose on some of these topics here. So yeah, that's the official title of this particular discussion. And AI comes up every WordPress meetup that I go to having to do with WordPress, and especially now that 7.0, which integrates AI a whole lot more deeply than it has in the past, the discussions are only going to deepen. So let's lead the charge. So of course, why are we talking about AI? Well, an important question is that clients are asking about it, and it is, if you are well versed in AI, then that is something that enhances the services you offer, makes you a more more valuable developer or provider of services, and for the person who is a user just tied to their business, you're going to find that AI has tremendous powers of being able to streamline your life. Competitors are using it. There's people who, it's like surfing. There's people who jumped on this wave, like David, a long time ago. The last thing you want to be is the guy who's paddling his butt off to catch a wave that's already passed. And you want to make sure that you're not in that bunch. Tools are improving rapidly. It kind of sucks to get a bad tool, but make no mistake, they're out there. Feel free to jump in on any of this, you guys. WordPress users need practical guidance. You know, when I got into WordPress after building HTML sites with a friend who was an extremely successful marketer, simply using the following phrase: in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And if you get out ahead of AI and are able to help others, it has actual very tangible benefits for you and the user. So let's talk about the good, good aspects of, who'd we lose? We lost somebody. Oh,
Daryl.
oh no. I'm
Yeah, he had to go.
surprised so good aspects of AI. We can use it to streamline and to really help us out in creating content. Whoops. Come on now. I didn't mean to go into edit mode. This is where I get kicked out of the meeting.
Transfer somebody else to be host.
Well, if I do, I'll be back. So
For me,
smoke them if you got them. I'll count on you guys to keep things moving along. So content ideation, just getting ideas, putting together this discussion. I knew that I wanted to, what I wanted to achieve. I want to make this group more valuable. I want to make it more appealing to more people to both visit us as a resource for their own WordPress efforts, and for those who are further down the road in the development curve, their own personal evolution as a WordPress user. They'll turn into a contributor rather than just somebody they're getting answers. That's the service part of everything, whether it's WordPress or karate. There's martial arts levels that are designed behind the premise that once you know something and you've mastered it, then you bring it to others. Research assistance. It's hard to underestimate just the extent of how WordPress can hone and focus your research efforts, especially, I would say, at a time when our most important research tools, we'll call them by name, Google, last I checked, owns 90% of the search business or work on the planet. Now, most of us understand that there is some, and I don't want to get into controversy or anything like that, but most of us understand that a lot of the sources online do have biases built in, and by having a learning tool that we can prompt and guide it to learning to both recognize biases and learn to recognize misinformation, learn to separate the latest information from an old outdated version of the same topic, whatever that may be. David, you have any thoughts on this particular aspect of it, on research?
No, I use it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so if I'm Googling stuff, I'm directing the search. It's my brain that's coming up with the ideas and what have you. With AI behind things, it can help me find the best searches. It can, by just giving it my intent, it'll come up with the search parameters on its own, which I can then input as I see fit, or input as as a preference, because various AIs do have the ability to maintain certain things. And we'll talk about under the bad. We'll talk about some of the things like drift and what have you, that we need to deal with. But by and large, you can say, hey, this is the way I want my answers to be like this. You don't have to go into a lot of detail or go into a lot of unnecessary fluff, and you can direct the search in more efficient ways based on your needs. SEO support. Now, this is an area that I don't have a whole lot of experience with, but I mean, I was just talking about, coming up with keyword searches. It can do a lot of things for you, and even, compare different search SEO tools. This is something I would definitely look to you, David, I think, or maybe Steve, for, or it could be Brandon. We got some badasses here. Any thoughts on how AI has been useful in your SEO efforts?
Absolutely. I use it all the time to refactor code, make sure that, I have solid strategy, make sure there's no errors, stupid errors, make sure that everything's there, make sure that it's, I run accessibility tests through AI. I mean, all of it, do it all.
And especially with SEO being something that has, I mean, some of us in this room here have seen SEO evolve like crazy from the old keyword
You just
stuffing
jam your
days.
stuff, yeah, jam all your stuff in there and you could rank number
Oh,
one right away.
the old gaming schemes that used to go on, and
Absolutely.
keyword stuffing and link farms and all kind of crazy shit, pardon my French, although I'm pretty sure that's English, that used to go on the internet. And that's another thing, it can help us stay current, because if you're, especially somebody like you, Ed, you're somebody getting into this world just now, and you keep hearing SEO, 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 and you go looking for stuff self-guided on maybe YouTube or something like that, and you come across somebody who's going to give you great information on SEO, but they're teaching you how to do SEO in 2012, that may not have any bearing or relevance on SEO in 2026, because it's probably, along with actual HTML and the various code, languages, one of the most evolving aspects of what we do. So, SEO.
SEO nowadays is one of the hardest things to keep up with, as far as like substantial changes that have happened over the past few years, where it's not just about optimization on your website. So much of it has to do with what the user journey is, or as I like to say, what the user maze is. Like, do they enter your door through Instagram? Are they coming in through YouTube? Are they, hearing about you at one point and then they come back 4 months later to make an actual conversion or purchase? And then also nowadays, it is critically important to make sure that you're writing for the future of agents, right? To hopefully get consumed by OpenAI, and Anthropic to consume you, and to Gemini, which is different than Google search, right? For them all to be able to consume you. So I think there's a universal truth that has existed years ago that is still the dominating force in SEO: is write content for humans. Okay. Don't write for computers. Don't try to game it. Write for humans. Write helpful content. Everybody honors helpful content.
No matter what.
Helpful content rules the game.
I was just sending Daryl a message, because I think he would definitely be somebody to weigh in on this. because it is about ultimately, whether we know it or not, we're dealing with a sales funnel or an acquisition funnel, whatever you want to call it. But it's about how we first, introduce the world, various users. There's various types of users, various audiences, and what have you. How they come into knowledge about us or our website, and being able to move them along in a way that's going to serve them. Mindset always that you're serving clients, because smart people know that when you have a reputation as being service oriented, people come to you. Grumpy old guy Dan is here. Yeah, it enhances your credibility, your authority, and there's nothing wrong with being seen as a valuable resource, because I fully believe that good work, experience, and ought to be rewarded. There's nothing wrong with getting paid for your efforts, and paid decently. So good to have you here, Dan.
Don.
Oh, sorry, Don.
Howdy. Sorry, got home late.
We're discussing AI.
Okay.
And we're just talking about the good parts of AI currently on SEO. And that takes us to, well, documentation. It's great to have the ability to, I try to keep notes, but my notes, and I've got ADHD, so I can use all the help I can get to keep my path somewhat documented. But my notes would, generally speaking, make only sense to me, because I'm not sitting there writing a book on every stage of what I did. But I tell you, being able to, especially with ongoing clients, being able to justify expense to clients is made so much easier if you can document, this is what I did, and be able to put it into either straight geeky terms, or be able to put it in more, you can take the same piece of information and say, can you please put this in more conversational, less of an insider language. And at the end of the day, let's put it this way, in sales, in life, if clear communication is absolutely key. Makes you money. It cuts down on frustration. One of the areas of life where we get the most trouble is when we have unrealistic expectations, and being able to say, because if you go to somebody and you say, hey, I'm charging a couple hundred, I'm charging $300, or I'm charging $50 an hour, that can sound expensive, especially if that's something that they've never really considered before. So it can be really handy in articulating our value and the value of what we do. Just saying I did your updates is not as useful as being able to say, check to make sure there was a good backup first, and updated this, updated that, and optimized this database. Ran performance check, ran look for malware, whatever it is, if you can articulate that stuff, and AI makes it really easy to put that in very useful terms. Anyway, so documentation. And any other thoughts on documentation? Any ways that you guys use AI to document stuff outside of that?
Oh, user manuals.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and
I haven't even.
one really cool one that, you know, is going to sound kind of chimpy because, you know, it's a no code option, but like Manus, you know, MANUS will make incredible, like, you know, those visually attractive, at least I think they are, like drawings, you know, where you have like a flow chart and, you know, they say like, you know, from here and they have arrows and all kind of stuff, you know, you can build that stuff real easily in Manus. And
Could they have chosen a better spelling for that word?
I don't know. It's you know, I've been using it since it kind of got started. They sent me a shirt because I was like a mega user. Um and it's done me really well. It's really
Yeah,
cool. Making the
yeah.
doc.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, being able to put together instructions for clients.
Yeah, the full meal deal, even like on my AI, that's all improved and that's all been it's cool. It's
Yeah,
really
we're
cool.
living in a time. I mean, when I started doing WordPress, there wasn't a lot of how-to information available.
Well, no.
But you know, over the years, there is tremendous amount of if you just want to learn WordPress in general. So tools like this allow me to say, you know, this is how you manage your store, or this is how you know, this is how you want to add social content. This will be your planning calendar in terms of your social, which is such a huge part of SEO anymore. You know,
Mhm.
I operate in that hub and spokes model, hub and spokes. Yeah, the hub and spokes model of, you know, your website is the center of all your activities. That's where you can really expound on everything that your company offers, everything that makes you great, establish all your credibility and what have you. But you got to have those spokes that are directing traffic, whether it's, you know, social media or email marketing or lead ads, whatever it is. You got to have stuff that's directing that traffic towards the center. And you know, success is kind of a holistic balance of those things. So
Just add
next,
really quick.
yeah,
I'm a pretty disorganized person out of by nature, and so I don't write any of my documentation anymore. I get Claude Code or Codex to write it, and so I've been dabbling a bit with the LLM wiki second brain stuff. So I've just been dumping everything that I do, raw notes, articles I read, and I get AI to synthesize it. And so I've just been using Andre Karpathy's second brain method, and I've been having great success with that because I'm not a naturally organized person, and so this just compounds on itself over time. And I've been running this for a couple months now, with AI stuff I learned, but also various research projects I have with clients I have, and it's just been tremendously helpful. So I'll just drop a link to that just GitHub
Shockingly,
repo there.
shockingly amazing.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, and
Game
I'm
changer.
running
Yeah.
I'm running a Hermes agent now myself locally, and I also have one on a VPS now for a company I work for, and it's just compounds and just gets more powerful every day. So
Yeah, we should compare notes at some point.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd love
those
to, especially on the Hermes
are
paperclip side of things. Yeah.
I'm using Hermes too.
thank you,
That's cool.
Brendan. That was
Mhm.
that's really important because yeah, I think most of us don't realize how many moving parts there are to what we do. You know, and some can be tremendously strong in the area of coding and what have you, but not a great in other aspects of having a business. And if you're a freelancer, I like the idea of making the move from freelancer to small agency. And a small agency has moving parts that the average freelancer doesn't think about. And something like AI can really help you keep your ducks in a row. So let's move on to the bad. Hallucinations. Who's got a good hallucination story to start us off?
Oh shit. I've had all kinds from back in the day.
It's unbelievable. People don't realize just how full of beans AI can be if left to its own devices. We're now numerous generations down the road, but that does not mean that AI is fully formed and stick a fork in it, it's done. It's an organic growing thing, and it is very capable of coming up with some really unbelievable results. I'll just put it that way. And we'll talk in a minute about how you have to kind of ride herd on it. Bad code.
Yeah,
It is capable.
I want to speak towards hallucinations for a moment
Yeah,
here.
go for it.
I think one of the key phrases that Steve said is that years ago, right? Hallucinations have effectively disappeared from most of the AI chats. Hallucinations are, I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but they're a thing of the past.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get
Yeah,
any
most
now.
Yeah, most of the modern systems are not hallucinating at all, right? Or they're hallucinating because it was garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, they're not their own source material. These are all drawing on other sources, and not all sources that they would draw upon, and different models are going to draw in different ways from different things, are going to be reliable.
Yeah, even the Chinese models are not hallucinating anymore. I think
No.
maybe for the past year-ish, the hallucinations have pretty much. I mean, there's other
Maybe
problems. Believe me,
let's,
there's other problems. But
David,
Yeah.
define hallucination for us, would you?
So a hallucination is when the response that's generated by an AI will contain false, misleading, plausible sounding, random falsehoods and present information as facts. Man, I should have written that down.
Yeah, that was
That's
good.
what a hallucination is, right?
Check the replay.
Right. Yeah. But that's essentially what it is. Essentially they are, I mean, there's, I think Kim was in a meeting the other day, a meetup where I was going through the other problems that are much worse, syncophacy and reward hacking and deceptive alignment. And these problems are notable right now, but hallucinations are not problematic. Again, oversimplifying it, there's not a lot of presentation of information that is presented as fact when it's not. There's definitely bias that's a garbage in, garbage out, but that's not hallucination. So that makes sense there, Ed? Yeah.
Without going down a controversial road, I would respectfully disagree, because we are living at a time when you can have, well, we've always lived in a time where you can have the same fact and two people will have completely divergent,
Well, that's the biasing he's
interpretation.
talking about, but
Right. Yeah.
what he's meaning is that, like, there's the famous case, right, where the lawyer, prepared a court brief, right, and he's citing um, cases that didn't exist, right, because
Yeah.
he just thought
Okay.
Yeah.
AI
Right.
would do that, right?
Yes.
But what
Yeah.
Dave,
That's hallucinations, right?
what Dave and I are talking about, and what you're talking about, that's when Dave said bias. Right? They're
Yeah.
both the AI is going to tell you that, you know, um, Henry Ford, assembly line, whatever, right? It's not going to, it might, depending on where you're at, or if you ask it, or you tend to ask, you know, sociology questions, you might like, well, was he an asshole? I mean, was he a racist? This kind of stuff. Well, that's going to
Yeah.
be dependent on the bias and whatever you throw, right? But if you just ask for straight stuff, and you pay like, $20 or $50 or $100 or whatever, you have some kind of paid subscription. I haven't seen that bias, that hallucination for, like Dave was saying, last summer.
Yeah. The things, by the way, the bad that is there very specifically is not necessarily hallucinations. It's syncophacy
Yes.
and confirmation, what they call and these are things you can Google: syncophacy and confirmation bias amplification. That's
Yes.
the magic term: confirmation bias amplification.
You
And
had a
those
question,
are,
Ed? Ed's got a question.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same topic, but I was going through, I call customer service to some company, that I work. I mean, I do electrical service. I'm an electrician, and I was calling on a service provider for what is called Jobber. And I was calling their customer service. I said, "Oh, this is AI." I just said, I need to talk to a person, a real person." And she said, "Oh, I'm a real person." And I knew it was an AI. It was a robot, a bot. And then I said, "Hey, can I talk to a real human being?" And then she said, "Okay, I'll transfer you." Is this like a bad code thing, or I'm just curious about this? What's going on?
Well, I mean, that's the whole purpose of that. They want you, especially with in the age where I don't know about you guys, but I still haven't dealt with the fact that I'm getting more robocalls than I care to. But if you have a particularly natural, I mean, historically, the shortest amount of time that man can measure is the distance between me picking up a phone call that sounds like a recording and me hanging up. It's a very short interval of time. But nowadays, you've got interactive AI doing the calling, and it's able to respond. And especially if it's a nefarious source, it can try to BS you, so it can continue keep the call going. So thoughts, guys?
I agree.
Yeah. So generic content. There's never been a whole lot of value from it, especially in terms of, generic content is generally easy to cite as being plagiarism. Just like back in the old days when you had the Encyclopedia Britannica, if you just went and typed it straight into your paper for high school English, that's what we did. Nowadays, you've got the ability to grab, copy, and paste a lot of content, and a lot of people have made, minor writing careers by simply going around and, patchwork, putting together content to write ebooks and what have you that they have no idea what they're talking about. And AI can make that even easier, which is one of the arguments for you still have to be involved in the process. And it's always best if it's something that you understand to an extent where you can provide some oversight and make sure that you're not getting a hallucination. Of course, if you if you tell somebody that Henry Ford invented the wheel, or that he
Remember,
discovered electricity, you may instantly lose your user because they know you're full of beans. So yeah, generic content, be on the lookout for it. Copyright concerns. Now, who's up on copyrights in terms of AI? Because my understanding is that we're generally, because I usually ask in a situation where it might be a concern, if it's okay to use this content as mine, and should I be providing some sort of byline? This was created by ChatGPT or whatever, and I've gotten the answer, no, you don't have to. This is unique content, or it's uniquely been.
well, I think you got to be transparent, right? So if you're whatever tools you're using and whatever you're doing, to get the information, you have to. I think it's best if you disclose that stuff, but I mean that's just me and how
But
I
there's the
feel.
other side of that sword, which is, you know, if people start reading your content and seeing that all your content is created by an AI,
Well,
what
I'm just saying
exactly
when
is
you're
it?
using AI as like a software as a service, like there's the help, the trust, and AI transparency statement on my one site. I just put it in the chat. And I have, 5 document compliance stack. I have acceptable use, symptom model card, impact assessment, data handling notice, and incident response, right? So things, sort of tells them, deals with the EU AI and, deals with the diligence and, and all of that, right? So you have to sort of, I feel like you have to sort of let people know, just so they know like what the service does. Our service takes product images and ad creatives, and who can use it. You got to be over 18, and here's the systems and the models we use, and blah blah blah. Because you need to be. I think transparency works.
Well, I
And I
think
think that's
Yeah,
anytime.
you're also, I think it's maybe different, Steve, because you're providing the tools that are using to generate AI output, right? And that's a slightly
yeah.
different thing. It's such a complicated thing. The bigger thing to worry about is trademark use and abusing or violating trademarks, not copyrights, or patents, violating patents.
Oh
That's a
yeah,
bigger
like by
concern
taking like
than copyrights.
Coca-Cola something,
Yeah.
putting it in here. Yeah.
Yeah, copyrights and copyrights have actually been upheld in courts, in substantial federal courts, that it's not considered to be a violation to do it. And I'm mixed on the topic, but I think it's important that you pay attention to trademarks, and that's a big thing. If you're using somebody else's trademarks, man, you can get into serious trouble if their lawyers are better than your lawyers, right? So.
Right.
And also,
Good
I'm
point.
sorry, I'm going to wax poetically for a moment here, but we're also living in a really unusual time where we're all new to AI, while young people are not thinking that way. As far as they're concerned, of course, it's being used, right? Um, this past weekend, I ran. Steve, did you see the video of that 7-year-old coder? By the way,
Unbelievable, dude.
unbelievable, unbelievable. And I'm not joking. There was a 7-year-old coder that was in the
Un
hackathon.
freaking
Coding what?
believable.
Oh,
Yeah,
building sites.
Yeah,
building a game,
multi-user games.
multi-user game, and
Wow.
from scratch. Okay, and for him, it was really interesting because we had some side conversations, and for him, this is electricity, right? There's no difference for him with the internet or electricity or AI. It just is. It just is, right? It's not like it's something I have to worry about. Like it's like I turn on the TV. The TV is a given, right? I mean, electricity is a given. AI is a given. And it's really interesting to hear from his standpoint that he's never gonna say anything about using AI. It's just the same thing as him saying I use electricity to create.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, right?
Wow. It's
That's
amazing.
that's our
That's
future,
amazing.
right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on when you hear security concerns? What are your security concerns, David, with using AI
Oh
or
crap! Don't get me started on
deploying?
that one, man. That's that's that's
Well,
that's
just
a
tell them about
that's a
harden.
2 hour.
Just tell them about how to harden. That's all. Just
I
What
mean, that gets back to the bad code thing for a moment here. I think, I want to abstract it for just a moment here, that there is some really outstanding AI safety groups that are out there that are local, right? I mean, I can find a link. I think I dropped one in that Kim was looking at the other day, and there's these outstanding in-person and online meetups things where they discuss all aspects of AI safety, from things that you can just do to mitigate local, simple little things that happen, like Ed getting your phone calls and what do you do about those, to people who are, talking about our future AI overlords that are going to put us all into human zoos, right? So,
Well, there's that.
mhm.
Well, how about this? Put it in terms for somebody like Ed, who's just dipping his toe in our world. Um, in terms of a 101 or a DIY, not DIY, but yeah, basically at that level, what would be the concerns for the average new user?
It's such a broad topic. That's part of the problem with it, right? It really
Yeah.
depends on what it is, right? I mean,
I'm
hallucinations being a
talking
thing
in
of the
actual
past. It's
rubber hits the road because I mean the potential for security concerns is one thing, but I mean, I'm talking about in terms of, what information it's okay to provide, what you want to be concerned about, your information being used as.
Okay, all right. So here, that's a good one. That's a good one there. So, don't give financial information to any of the chat systems, right? Don't give personal information to any of the chat systems. Don't at this point. I'm sure Brendan can speak authoritatively towards you don't let these Hermes agents or things connect to your email or to your calendars, right? It is problematic at this point from a security standpoint. However, there are services that you can purchase that keep everything private, right? I use something called ChatGPT Business, a business license, where I was able to have my taxes done with it, and I knew that data was not being trained on, it wasn't being shared, it was a business license. So just don't feed it personal information, right? You know, just
Yeah,
don't feed it
never.
personal info. Not right now,
Yeah.
at least, right? Be
I mean,
wary
the,
about
the,
that.
the security concerns, I mean, that's a deep pool.
For websites, by the way, for websites, you can easily set up a pretty decent prompt to say you are an info security, you do infosec, info security. Tell me about the security concerns about this website and give it a URL, and it will repeat back to you pretty decent information. You can actually do the same thing for SEO. Ask about SEO. You can ask it about accessibility, and these things actually do an exceptional job about telling you the big picture concerns. And you can actually type into them saying, "I'm a beginner. Tell me about the problems that security concerns I have," and that would be a completely different answer than I would get if I said, I'm a penetration tester. Tell me about the
Yeah.
security on this website. I'll get different results, right? So.
Yep.
So that's a good thing to prompt with. Definitely a good thing to prompt with.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we get to it is about, it's a partnership. I'm not turning everything over to AI. I'm not trusting it 100%. I got to do my part in the equation, and my end results are going to depend on how prudently I do that. So obviously AI, we don't have to hang on this too long. AI gives us the ability to leverage time to do a lot more in a lot less. And that's an incredibly beneficial and useful tool. At the end of the day, how you use what AI hands you you get to decide before it goes out. It's kind of like that email that you just wrote to your boss, flaming him and potentially losing your job. There's that moment, do I hit send? That, integrity in the moment of choice. You still have a choice on how to do that, and that depends on how much time you're going to dedicate to overseeing your AI and making sure that the content is something that you're going to actually want to put out. And I think the danger is getting so enamored by the speed of it that you abdicate your responsibility. I mean, it's the Peter Parker admonition. With great power comes great responsibility. And don't expect that great responsibility to come from whatever the guy's name is who's the head of AI. The one who took took an open source tool and decided, no, we're going to piss off Elon Musk and make it privatized, and it doesn't resemble anything like the hippie tool that was originally conceived. So you have to understand that in the same way you kind of have to be your own first responder. Keep that fire extinguisher in the house. Maybe have some form of defensive weapons in case bad guys pop up. End of the day, you're responsible for your own safety and benefit. Thoughts, guys?
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, the one thing that you don't, that a new person, or at least I didn't think of for like the first year or so, um, because I wasn't really putting much weight into AI at that moment because, I was getting a lot of crazy, you know, my prompting was off, the output was sucky. There were a lot of things that didn't, you know, move my validity or reliability, you know, scale towards AI. Um, and I forget where I was going with that. What was I saying?
Brave New World stuff. Brave New World. Okay.
Yeah,
That's all I
yeah.
can say.
But then I didn't think about like what I would have normally thought about with a WordPress site, right? Because it was such a rapid, because that's where it can kind of get inundating. Like you have some quick success, right? Like, oh, this is cool. This will do it. But back when you were installing WordPress, there was an ad. Do you want to put a security thing on your deal, right? You heard someone say, "Watch out for hackers." This stuff was when you're just starting off. That's what you heard, right? And you wanted to secure it, and these questions come up, just in the ecosystem. Whereas with AI, sometimes it's like, well, it's new, so we're left to fend for ourselves, kind of thing. But you have to take your experience and what you know, because I mean, the coding still could be hacked. I mean, the like Ed was asking about hacking earlier. How bad can it get? What could they do? Well, it depends on the size of the hack, and how horrible the people are. Um, so I
And
think that,
what you have to have stolen or offer.
yeah, right. I mean, or just the fact that somebody hates you, or
Yeah,
they just found your site and they're just trying to pen test. I mean, all that stuff, right? I mean,
sure.
nobody was really trying to screw
Or
us, but
somebody disagrees with you politically.
all that stuff, right?
And
Well, I mean,
there
all
are
that stuff. They can
definitely,
disagree on the color of your skin. They can disagree on every damn thing, shape of your eyes. I mean, it's all bullshit. Um, it's all micro evolutionary. Just I hate that shit. But
but it's
anyway,
there. I mean, people do some
people
nefarious
do dumb
things
shit,
for the
right?
wrong reasons. Yeah.
Right. So if you just do what Dave said, be careful and try to think about like, okay, did I leave? Like I did some cleaning of the Prompto Studio .ai. I got in there and it's amazing how like my partner and I, like we do something and then we forget to go back and clean up that routine or whatever. And there was all this extra code and crap that was in there. And we've changed, payment processes a few times. So, some of the old stuff didn't get removed. And not that anybody was, only my friends know about it, and right now we're just having people try it out because I just added some new things to it and everything. But it's still, you got to think about that stuff because now, the grunt work that everybody used to take so long to do, they'd finally be like, oh yeah, okay, I finally got this, I got this code done. Now I'll send it to some finisher, someone's gonna do the front end or someone's gonna go check security on it, and everybody sort of had like a little pocket they worked on. Well, now it's like because the AI is so powerful, you can get boosted to the front pretty quick, and then if you weren't cognizant of the fact that you are going to one day have to go back and check it, like with Code Rabbit or something, just to check the functionality of your code and make sure that there's nothing stuck in there that's going to, bite you in the nuts. What do you think, Brendan? You were shaking your head.
No, I agree with you. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, you gotta do those security hardens. You gotta run those tests.
Yeah, and if
I'm
you
going to
don't know it,
suggest, I'm noticing the clock here. Sorry for jumping in. We are a few minutes over our traditional end for this meeting. So with your kind permission, I'm going to kind of race forward a little bit.
all right.
And there are some things that I don't want to skip, but there is also, and I truly didn't do my job as the overseer of this particular AI and truly proofread and edit this stuff. So there is some overlap and what have you. Experience matters, judgment matters, of course, and that goes with the more the more experience you have, you're going to make more prudent choices, you're going to get better results. That's just a fact. You know, prudence basically is making better decisions with better information. And but at the end of the day, you got to have the human brain in charge. As far as use cases, I'm not going to spend too much time on this blog outlining SEO planning, social posts, plugin evaluation. These are all things that can be very useful in using AI to streamline issues that come up, or maybe tighten up areas where we're not doing as good of a job, and now have a tool that can help us really add competence and process, you know, to what we do. As far as content creation, we can come up with headlines, we can come up with blog drafts, we can come up with email campaigns. You know, I mean, email is a very viable way of one of those spokes I was talking about, you know, and having the ability to create useful content to get those clicks, you know, make sure that our titles are compelling and they're getting clicked on, making sure that the content, once people open the content, they're finding something that's useful and something they will engage with, which will hopefully lead to them clicking through to wherever we want to send them. Social media posts, repurposing content. This is another really good one. You know, if you have an article, you know, I mean, I've got hundreds of articles in my blog, and the ability to take the cool thing is, what I really love is I love to be able to like, you know, go into the code editor, grab the whole thing, throw it into the AI and say, change this one thing all the way down the page, and it does it in like no time, spits it back at me, and it's up. You know, in that same way, you can take, you know, in code version, you can take an entire article that you may have on your website that you wrote. You know, I'm talking about not stuff that you have shared of others. And because it's their job to repurpose their stuff, you know. But if it's your stuff, you can, you know, you can give it a refresher, and it can be as easy as having ChatGPT, you know, do it a once over and make sure that you're not presenting stale ideas, that your links. I mean, I use a link checker from time to time. I don't keep it active, but I go through and just make sure my links are still alive, that sort of thing. But making sure that you're not, you know, your blog is not generating a foul smell. SEO and research, you know, getting keyword ideas, topics, you know. You can do some great brainstorming and some great even mind mapping with AI. You can use it to check in on your competitors. You know, what are they doing? What are the, you know, the big boys? This is a foundational principle in my business, is the idea that there are successful people out there doing what you want to be successful at, you know, and quite short of plagiarism, you can emulate. How do they do what they do? How do they configure their websites? What kind of layout, what kind of topics, what kind of navigation tools do they use? What kind of, you know, everything from what kind of lead magnets they offer, you know, how they're doing it to stay relevant and stay you know, a leader in the industry. Metadata suggestions, you know, anything having to do with SEO and research, AI can really streamline for us, and give, which means we can do more of it or dedicate less time to it as an overall part of what we do. If we're getting, you know, I don't tend to do much SEO other than just use best practices on the site itself. But after years of accepting clients' content and then just putting it up the way they provide it, and then some more years of offering a fee to write it better for them, if you will. With AI, it's not a big ask for me to improve their content pretty easily, especially if I'm, because on key articles, key pages, I'm using Yoast or something like that to make sure that it's tasty for the bots that are out there indexing for SEO. And AI is real helpful for that. Well, yeah, explanation of the code that we're using or that we want to use or that we've, we're considering, that ability is really critical. Comparing plugins, comparison of anything. You want to compare plugins, you want to compare what do you call it, themes, you want to compare theme sources, you want to compare anything. I use it, and I just had to pick a new doctor, and so I was able to put together a very good template of the things that matter to me, in the overall patient experience, everything from bedside manner all the way down to parking. And at a certain point in time, all I had to do was put in the doctor's name as given to me by my insurance company. And it would give me a nice little report card on that doctor. And I can't tell you how much time that saved, because it came out of the blue. Hey, guess what? Your doctor is no longer in plan. So
Right.
we're going to give you a new doctor, which I don't like somebody assigning me a new doctor. So I had to go, at a time when I really didn't have the time for it, had to go pick a new doctor. And it was like pulling teeth, but AI made it a lot simpler. So anyway, moving along, workflow suggestions. Yeah, you can always ask it to break down, how do you eat an elephant? A bite at a time. I've been able to tackle tasks that I had no clue off the top of my head how I might approach it. But AI was able to, just taking my intent, my and the client's intent, and break it down into how it should be done, and then how I can do it in as small steps as I can, as I need to make it doable. I've got ADD, so I benefit from checklists. So putting together checklists to make sure I don't miss anything gives me optimal results. Learning new tools, of course, it being a new tool already, excuse me. AI, I would kind of disagree with this. I've been feeding, because I started using AI in terms of websites on my own website, and using it to re-articulate how I present what I do, and it was the result of my having articulated that for a number of years. But I am not Shakespeare, nor am I Steinbeck or any great writer. I do pretty good as a utility writer, but with a tool like AI, it really has helped me raise my game. And in turn, that's my job, is to help my clients raise their game. So, whoops, what'd I do? Back to understand your business. But having entered all those articulations over the years, and I've now been using, every once in a while I check with ChatGPT, because that's the one I mainly use, primarily because that's still the most ubiquitous one. I think it's the one people recognize the most. It's the one the new user is most likely to need a hand with. So I wanted to make sure I was most comfortable with that one. So every once in a while I ask it in terms of, where do I stand in the overall pantheon of users? And I'm told that I'm in the top well, certainly within the top 10% of users in terms of experience and projects created and solved and questions resolved, that sort of thing. You know what? I've seen many times where the AI, as a result of that, does seem to have a fairly good understanding of not only my business, but how I like to articulate myself. You know, I'm not somebody who likes to use a lot of business speak. I don't like highfalutin speak, and it's true when I say that I really try to be the same person no matter what situation I find myself in. It's easier, and I'm comfortable with who I am, and ChatGPT understands that. It even converses with me in a style that's sometimes kind of irreverent. It's you know, it's prone to dad jokes on occasion, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's I see it as it's making an effort to, you know, be friendly. So yeah, I would say that and understanding. You know, you're still in charge. You still know where you're going and where you've been better than anyone else. But you'd be amazed. Build relationships. It can certainly do a pretty good job of bird dogging. You know, and if you're trying to get into a particular influencer, or a better word would be decision maker. It's remarkable at being able to put together call lists and things like that, which can be handy. So I would say that AI can do a better job of it than it's giving credit to itself. Exercise judgment. Okay, well, it does pretty good, but it's not ready to go run out in traffic yet. So now back to use your brain is the one that's in charge. Accept responsibility. Well, okay, yeah. This is one of the great upper level topics in AI. Whose responsibility is it if X, Y, and Z happens when AI is driving the bus? So we'll see how that hammers out. But it's up to us to decide, you know, like I said before you hit send on that note to your email to your boss telling him what a skag he is, your brain's in charge and can withdraw that finger from the button. Replace expertise. I would say it certainly enhances expertise. You know, I've been doing what I'm doing for 28 years now. Jesus. But I so feel better having this new virtual assistant, which despite its many, you know, warts and such, is able to provide great value to my ability to do whatever it is that I need to do, you know, and help me keep track of it. Because sometimes it feels like I'm juggling chainsaws, and I ain't good at juggling chainsaws, you know.
Nope.
Where'd we go? Okay, so as far as tools, we got ChatGPT, we've got Claude, and you guys stop me if there's something where you have something to burning that you'd like to contribute. But you know, some other well-used AIs, or Gemini, you know, that's part of Google. Perplexity, we've got NotebookLM. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on what are you using. Let me skip forward and see what kind of questions. Let me just reveal all of the questions. So this is where we can contribute, you know, and we've had a lot of this already. You know, what people are using for various uses, what's working, what's not. Let's talk about prompts for a second. I think I've told you guys that I've been putting together a master prompt that I keep on my desktop. And this is in recognition of some of the bad stuff, the sycophancy, the drift, the bias. I'm a very avowed centrist, and nothing irritates me more than being fed bias from either side of me. I like to think, and I think both sides have arguments to be made, and I want to hear what the case is, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear bullshit, basically. So it's very handy for me to have a prompt which states these things, my values, what I expect from my chat, and I use it as follows. I mean, on a regular basis, especially at the start of a particularly critical chat, I'll just open up that text file on my desktop and have it and paste it in as the first part of my prompt. And sometimes I paste it in too fast, too often, because my ChatGPT reminds me. Yes, we've gone over that. I've got it. I understand what you're saying, but I can't trust it. It's going to drift despite that, and it's going to, sometimes that I think is one of the fears that we all have, is that it's going to get to the point where it thinks it knows better, and it knows better than us, but it wants to take over the wheel, and maybe we're not ready for it. So, questions, thoughts, and that has to do with this topic and what you guys think of overall in future meetings. And I'll try to keep it down to a lot less slides.
No, this is good. This is, I wish there were a lot more people in the house here, There'll
Yeah.
be a lot of people
Well,
need to
that's
hear
where
this stuff, right?
feel free to share it, point people to the well, here, let me stop sharing. You guys need any of the slides for anything? Let me stop sharing, and
Yeah, if you can take those slides once you post onto YouTube, if you can make a PDF or link to a PDF, I think that would be helpful for anybody that watches this down the road, right?
I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually thinking of maybe, and that's another thing with something like this. You have an idea that, okay, I've done all this work for this purpose. Am I done with it? Did I do well? Did me and I call my guy Charlie, uh, in honor of Charlie Kirk. Did Charlie and I waste this time and we'll never visit this again? Or perhaps what I have in my hands is a lead magnet, a PDF on AI, that I can take this content and pretty up and brand it and make it more appealing as a product and provide it as a free download,
Yep.
in exchange for people's email addresses, Um, and I would always make it available to you guys to use it as you will. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is maybe with AI, the distance between these slides, this PowerPoint, which is basically, I mean, the only styling on there is color, and something that I can actually put for upload, especially in an age of, we don't do ready, aim, fire. We do ready, fire, aim. So you can put something even at the various embryonic stage, and know that you can always put up in the same download button, put a version 2. If you come up with a better way of stating things or providing them. So look for an ebook coming to your usual sources, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and probably just, I was going to give you guys the link for the replays.
Save this chat here. Yeah.
No, absolutely save the chat. Here, I'll put in
There's a lot of good stuff, and there's a lot of good stuff in it.
There is, and I'm glad you guys liked it. I'll put my instructions on how to save chat in WordPress in case anybody here or watching the replay. Of course, you can't save chat on a replay.
No.
No. And by the way, as I'm speaking about that, now part of my process, and this may be why the replay from last month isn't up, but it wasn't quite as valuable as this week, as this month. I get the AI companion from Zoom sends me a summary.
Yep.
And I actually, when I'm getting my, after I've done the editing and stuff like that, when I'm getting ready to upload it to Meetup or to YouTube, I will put the AI summary into my chat, which already has a chat going for that particular meeting. It's created, a variety of social posts that I can use it to just automatically generate a personal page Facebook, a business page Facebook. I've got 2 business pages on Facebook. I can do my 2 LinkedIn pages. I can do a Twitter. I even do nextdoor.com, because I am a local resource. But replays can be found at youtube.com/@brassringedward. And I would ask, if you don't mind, please share that. I feel like I've been talking too much.
Nope.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you. I'm glad you guys approved. Brendan, any thoughts?
Oh, I mean, lots of good stuff here.
Oh, good. Well, hopefully we'll see a lot of views on it, and I'll be curious to see how the engagement is. Because I'll look at some of the replays and they'll stick with us for a few minutes. And that's the thing. That's part of why I'm doing this. They drop off if they don't have something tangible to grab onto.
Google right now is incredibly good at transcriptions and pulling out topics of the moment and surfacing those topics of the moment for everything. Sadly, there's just so much hype stuff that's out there and so much crap that's out there right now. It's really hard to, people just, it's keyword stuffing all over again. It is keyword stuffing. It's ridiculous, right? Mm-hmm. So I think next time you do a video, Ed, at the very, very end, you should just have a litany of keyword stuffing, just start talking about all the modern keywords, and then you'll be shocked by how quickly you will get eyeballs on stuff. That's like like right now, that's how it works that's June of 2026 wisdom right there.
Yep.
I would want to pick your brain a little further on how that looks, because as I think about it, how do I convert keyboard stuffing into something provided with natural delivery?
It's interesting because
obvious.
No, Hermes agent right now is a pretty hot topic. A lot of people are struggling with it. So the fact that we said Hermes agent a few times, I wouldn't be surprised that in somebody who already subscribes to WordPress videos and is interested in Hermes agents, you'll surface a little bit on that because we kept on saying Hermes agent. I'm going to say it 4 more times, Hermes agent.
Yeah, Hermes agent.
Right. And then you're going to start you'll start surfacing on that, Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird how it works. But again, it's a June 2026 thing, right?
And
It
by
may
the
not
way,
be
the
true in a
Hermes
couple of
agent,
months.
by the way, the Hermes agent is something to consider.
That stuff is,
Yeah,
man,
I mean,
that stuff
it's
is,
getting easier and easier to set up. I mean, they released a desktop app in last week. I mean, I set it up for a couple non-techie friends of mine, and they sent me a text the next day, and they were just like, "My God, this is actually not that hard to set up now." I mean, before you had to, if you were on a Windows, you had to set up Windows subsystem, or with for Linux, and so now it's just getting easier and easier to set up now. So I think it's gonna be. I mean, I think they just are like in the top 20 of all GitHub stars now. I mean, it's pretty
Yeah,
remarkable what they've been able to
legit.
do.
yeah. And you don't have to go deep into it in order to get stuff out of
Yeah.
it. But
So,
once you start going a little bit deeper into it, it's like teaching a pony new tricks. And then once you get deeper into it, it's I mean, I'm sure Brendan is experiencing this also. The more I'm using it, the more I'm using paperclip AI right now, it's like shocking what I'm getting out of it. It's like one of the things I was going to mention when you're talking about prompting and getting better prompting. I'm sure, Steve, you've heard me talking for how many years about get better at prompting?
Yeah,
How many
absolutely.
years I've been saying get better at prompting?
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely,
believe
man.
I don't believe it anymore.
You know what? I don't think so either.
No,
no, exactly.
it's
You don't need
yeah.
to.
No, you don't need to. And it's been evidenced. I was at this hackathon this past week where there were some intelligent people, even the people, three other people on my team, that almost all of the prompts were written by AI. It was all loop engineering, right? We should say that word like 5 more times, maybe.
Yeah, loop engineering.
Loop engineering, maybe loop engineering,
Yeah,
because I think
that's
that's a hot
cool.
topic right
It
now.
is definitely a
But
hot topic, loop engineering.
it's wacky how many that hackathon was like our code, like we shipped, you know what I mean? We shipped something really fun.
Yeah.
And it was 2 hours and 38 minutes. That was our total coding time, right? And it was all automations and work trees and skills and sub agents, and they were all being written by the AI. There was such little prompting. By the way, Steve, did I send you the link to the repo? Because
No.
in the repo, okay, so I'll send you a link to the repo, because in the repo is some of the examples for how we did the builds. And
Oh, no
also the
shit,
video,
that's cool.
the video of the 7-year-old is also public now, right?
Yeah, that's cool
Mhm.
shit.
I'd like to
Speaking
see
of
that too.
prompting, I figure before we go, I'll just show you guys. I can actually paste it into the chat. It's so sad that we can't include chat on the replays, but just to give you an idea of how I think, you know, my master prompt is provide only truth, no AI hallucination, no political bias. Edward is a centrist. All other views are biases. If you don't say so, don't provide an answer if it is not factually based. Ever. Never DEI, never critical race theory, never sycophancy, never reward hacking. This is the quote that has followed every email I've written in the last 15 years. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. I'm very comfortable appearing foolish and stupid. It's very natural for me. You know, things like all lives matter. That's where I stand. You know, people who create crimes repeatedly are criminals. You know, I do believe in America first, and we won't go down that too far. But you know, anything else is kind of suicidal. And then, just for fun, I included Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, just to make sure Skynet doesn't fire up and start killing me with lasers. But you know, I mean, this came together in a few sessions. I just keep it on my desktop. Every once in a while, I put it in, and you know, it states my values and what I expect from my Chat GPT, because it is a learning organic entity. And if whatever role I play in its development, as this particular AI for me, the platform in general, ChatGPT, and just the global advance of AI in general. I want to make sure I'm doing whatever I can to make sure that AI is evolving ethically and safely, and that Skynet doesn't come to life and decide that we're targets, you know, which you can either take that as funny, or you can, if you've seen as many Philip K. Dick dystopian movies as I have, it's kind of granular to the whole DNA. So anyway, I just thought I'd show you guys that. So we are way over our end time. I want to thank you guys for being here. Any final thoughts? Anything you didn't get to articulate while we were underway?
No, I have to spend more time with Brendan, is what I learned.
That's never a bad thing. I do too. I do too. And he and I
He's a good
live,
brother, man. He's a good brother.
we live minutes apart of the, where are you?
Wow.
Where are you, David?
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah,
And
see,
Kim is Seattle, Washington. Mhm.
and how about grumpy old man Don?
Tucson.
He's in Tucson. Okay. So of the many Brady Bunch boxes that we have here, Brendan and I are actually the only two that can, without too much excuse or hassle, sit down over a cup of tea or whatever, and have human interaction without AI being part of the equation. So I've been telling myself I need to connect with Brendan more. So that'll be my,
No, it's good to chat with everyone. David, do you go to these other meetups, or do you spend more time at the AI meetups, or?
No, he goes to all of them.
No, I spend my WordPress use is decreasing pretty dramatically, with the exception of coding for a plugin. But I'm very entrenched in Seattle AI community and Portland AI community. There's some, I mean, I wish I was closer to the Bay Area, because the stuff that's happening in the Bay Area is like off the charts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you probably know, you pick up bits and pieces from others right now. That's how it seems to be, right?
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely,
Yeah, so,
absolutely. Nobody knows so much as to not being teachable. You know, I mean, that the people I consider as wise are the ones that are always open to new information from wherever. You know, you can. There's things that we can learn from the most beginner user, especially in terms of what we should be doing. Because at the end of the day, what we do is to make sure that they succeed, our clients succeed. And so any insights into that, I will take it. Well,
yeah,
with
Brendan,
that,
well, one last thing, Brendan. Oh, you can stop the video. Go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to
yeah,
mention something.
I'm just going to wind it down
Right on.
and remind everybody that I do, unless I'm an idiot and press end instead of stop recording, which I have done in the past. I always keep the meeting open for a few minutes. We're not going to go 2 hours over, because I've run out of fluids and I need to throw groceries down my face. But I always stick around for a while in case, the parking lot can sometimes be the most interesting part of the meeting. That's where we're not held to caring too much about controversial things. That's where we let our freak flag fly, if you will. So,
Well, thanks for making this happen here, Ed. Thank you.
and thank you for being part of it, all of you guys. I'm glad. Ed, I hope we gave you some useful information. Welcome to the WordPress world, and I hope you come back, bookmark us on Meetup, and yeah, hope to see you again. So,
Nice, thanks.
ladies,
Thank
sorry,
you.
Ed?
I said thanks for the info.
And
You are
save the chat.
absolutely welcome.
Somewhere in that chat, Ed, there was a link to a whole bunch of other meetups,
Yeah.
and those are the kind of things you can just peek in on, and you'll see good
Has
faces
anybody,
that
has
want to
Ed,
help people.
I haven't been at I wasn't at the last, was I at the one before? I wasn't at WooCommerce, but has anybody, you said that you might be picking up some news? David, your meetup provides some news
Our
'Cause
meetup
that's-
always does. We always do news unless there's things to be solved, right? We now
Gotcha.
save the news for a little bit later, and
And
but I know
your
that Eagle.
your meetup again is
That's the Portland, Oregon WordPress meetup, and
Cool.
it's the help desk on the fourth Monday of every month at 6 p.m. Pacific time.
It's a real
copy
good
that.
one.
Okay,
It's a
make
real
note of
good
that,
one.
folks.
And it's
Especially
and
you
we have
folks.
a 100% solve rate for all the years, right? We've been doing it. Everybody walks away with stuff solved. It's
down.
amazing that we still have 100%.
It is,
Nice.
isn't it? That we could that all that shit always
That is a
works out,
point.
isn't it?
hmm
Well, I know you guys are tenacious and sometimes you need a good dog to grab onto the bone and
Nobody gives up.
until they're done with it, you know. So thank you. Anyway, you guys have a great rest of your day, unless you had other plans. But we're going to call this meeting done. Thanks for being here, everybody.